This is Satoru, a failed young man in his late 20s whose life is nearly in ruins. He was once a manga writer at a company, but unfortunately, he was fired from his job. Left with no other choice, he started working as a delivery driver at a restaurant. However, Satoru was no ordinary man. One day, while delivering an order, he felt something strange. Suddenly, time rewound for a minute. Then, it happened again. This was a supernatural phenomenon that he had grown accustomed to, and he called it revival. This phenomenon only occurred under one condition: when a disaster was about to happen. It was as if fate was giving him a warning, sending him back in time by 1 to 5 minutes so he could identify the mistake and prevent the catastrophe before it unfolded. Satoru looked around in confusion. What's wrong? What am I supposed to stop? Just then, he noticed a truck speeding recklessly beside him. He immediately realized that the driver had lost consciousness and that the vehicle was moving at full speed. To make matters worse, a young child was crossing the street, completely unaware of the imminent danger. Satoru knew this was the disaster. The truck was about to run over the child. At the last moment, he reached out and grabbed the steering wheel, shifting its course by just a few centimeters, enough to save the child from certain death. However, before he could celebrate his success, another vehicle, coming from the opposite direction, crashed into him. Satoru was rushed to the hospital, where his coworker, Eri, visited him to check on his condition. After spending some time with him, she left. Fortunately, his injuries weren't severe, so he was soon discharged and returned home. There, he found his mother had prepared a meal for him and was taking care of him. As his mother watched TV, a news report about a child abduction case appeared. This triggered an old memory, one that had occurred when Satoru was in the 5th grade. She turned to him and asked, "Do you still remember that incident? Your life was in danger back then." Satoru tried to recall it, but at first, he couldn't remember much. However, as he kept thinking about his mother's words throughout the night, the memory resurfaced. 2 of his childhood friends had been kidnapped and murdered under mysterious circumstances. A young man named Yuki was accused of the crime, but his personality didn't match that of a killer. He was kind-hearted, someone who could never commit such an atrocity. Despite this, he was arrested and the case was closed. One day, while Satoru and his mother were shopping at the supermarket, he experienced revival again. He immediately became alert and started looking around for anything unusual. He even asked his mother if she noticed anything strange. She scanned the surroundings but saw nothing, until her eyes landed on a suspicious-looking man, holding a little girl in a way that seemed unnatural, as if he was planning to kidnap her. The moment the man realized he was being watched, he got scared and let go of the girl. However, he wasn't an easy target to shake off. He began following Satoru and his mother all the way to their home. Satoru's mother realized that the man had learned their address, but instead of being afraid, she tried to memorize his face. Then, it suddenly hit her. She knew those eyes. Her memories started flooding back until she recognized him completely. Without hesitation, she called someone she used to work with and told them she needed to visit them because she had crucial information they had to know. Later that night, as she was returning home, determined to tell Satoru the truth, she was suddenly attacked. A sharp blade pierced her chest. It was him, the criminal who had been kidnapping and murdering children. He killed her on the spot, realizing that she had discovered his true identity. When Satoru returned home, he found the killer there, but he couldn't see his face or recognize him. As he stepped inside, he called out, "Mom, why did you leave the door open?" But the sight before him sent a shockwave through his entire being. His mother was lying in a pool of blood, a knife buried in her body. He screamed in horror, drawing the attention of the neighbors. But instead of helping him, they assumed he was the killer. How could they be so foolish? How could they accuse him of such a crime after everything he had been through? The real murderer was cunning. He had already reported the crime to the police, framing Satoru for his own mother's murder. The police arrived at the scene, but the crime had been meticulously planned, and the evidence was fabricated against him. Satoru had no choice but to run. He couldn't believe what was happening. He had lost his mother, and now he was being accused of a murder he didn't commit. Suddenly, revival happened again. But this time, when he opened his eyes, he found himself back in his elementary school days. He had traveled 18 years into the past. My God, why had he gone back so far? There had to be a reason behind this. Satoru started thinking, analyzing the situation around him. What brought me back here? How is this connected to my mother's murder? Does this mean the killer has been around all these years, since I was in school? Then, he realized the shocking truth. The person who killed his mother was the same one who had been kidnapping and murdering children. He also understood why his mother was targeted. When she saw that man attempting to abduct the little girl, she recognized him, which led to her death. If Satoru wanted to save his mother, he had to prevent the kidnappings and put an end to the criminals' plans. That meant changing the future, ensuring that his mother would stay alive. He started recalling memories from the past, one by one, until he remembered a girl named Keo who was in his class. He distinctly recalled that the series of kidnappings had started with her. But why was she targeted? Satoru discovered that Keo was a lonely girl with no friends, making her the perfect target for a kidnapper. Without hesitation, he approached her, and through their conversation, he realized that she wasn't just a quiet girl. She was suffering in ways no child should endure. With keen observation, he noticed bruises on her body, and it became clear to him she was being abused and beaten by her parents. Determined to protect her, he decided to get closer to her to keep the abductor's eyes off her. He invited her to his birthday party, which was on March 2nd, and asked, "You'll come, right?" She hesitated for a moment, but eventually agreed. Satoru was determined to keep her safe, so he thought to himself, the kidnapping started with Keo in March. I remember reading in the records that she was 10 years old at the time, while the other kidnapped children were 11. That means only one thing. She was taken before her birthday. That meant he needed to find out her exact birth date to determine the day of her abduction. He asked her directly, but she refused to tell him. He didn't give up, so he sneaked into the school's student records to look for her name and find out when her birthday was. At that moment, his teacher caught him and asked, "What are you doing here?" Trying to cover up his actions, Satoru replied, "Nothing. I just wanted to know when Kaio's birthday is." The teacher smiled and said, "I knew you were interested in her. Anyway, her birthday is on March 2nd. Satoru was stunned. That meant her birthday was on the same day as his, and it also meant that she would be kidnapped on March 1st. I have to protect her that day. Afterward, Satoru decided to meet Yuki, the young man who had been falsely accused of the crime, to confirm that he wasn't the real killer. And indeed, he realized it was impossible for Yuki to be the culprit. This made Satoru even more determined to protect him from the false accusation that awaited him. Later, he went to visit Kaio at her house, but when he rang the doorbell, no one answered. He noticed footprints on the ground and a bag abandoned in front of the door, which made him uneasy. Feeling something was wrong, he decided to enter through the window of the neighboring room, and what he saw inside filled him with shock and disgust. Satoru found Kaio lying on the floor in a terrible state. As he approached her, she weakly said, "Don't come near me." Before he could process the situation, her mother walked in and coldly said, "What is it, Kaio? Locking yourself in this room again, you stubborn child." Satoru glared at her angrily and asked, "Why do you treat your daughter this horribly?" Her mother replied indifferently, "Me? I haven't done anything to her. Ask her yourself." Kaio looked at Satoru with sadness in her eyes and said, I just fell. That's all." It was obvious. Because of her mother's abuse, Kaio had become a perfect target for the kidnapper. Anyone who saw her in this condition would assume she was a neglected child, someone whose disappearance wouldn't be noticed right away. Satoru was determined to save her, not just from the kidnapper, but from her own mother as well. After observing her, he discovered that she always arrived late to school on Mondays. The reason? Her mother abused her over the weekend, then tried to hide the bruises by delaying her return to school so no one would notice the marks. Satoru went to his teacher to report this, but he was shocked by the teacher's response. I already knew, son." Satoru asked, "If you knew, why didn't you do anything? Why didn't you protect her?" The teacher sighed and replied, "There was nothing we could do. It's not easy for us to interfere in a student's personal life. We all know Kaio is always alone. We've sent child welfare officials to check on her multiple times, but she always found a way to avoid them. But one day, we will free her from her mother." Satoru returned to Kaio and continued spending time with her, talking to her, and making her feel less alone. He began to feel like he was truly making a difference. "I'm actually changing the past," he thought. "I remember being in this exact place before, but I was alone. This is proof that I'm altering the future." And finally, for the first time, he saw Kaio smile. On Saturday, the day she was usually beaten, Satoru went to her house and asked her mother, "Won't your daughter join us for a trip to the science museum? We're not going to play, we're going to learn." Her mother coldly replied, "No, we have things to do at home." Then she turned to Kaio and asked, "What do you think? Do you want to go?" For the first time, Kaio defied her mother and said, "I want to go." Her mother grew furious and was about to hit her, but just then, Satoru's mother arrived at the doorstep and intervened. "Let the kids go together," she said. "It's perfectly fine." Under the increasing pressure, Kaio's mother finally relented, and Kaio went to the museum with Satoru. They had a wonderful time together. However, during their outing, Satoru suddenly had a strange feeling. These events, they feel familiar. Am I repeating my past mistakes? No, I can't give up. I have to keep trying. At the end of the day, everyone returned home and everything seemed fine. The fateful day, March 1st. On this day, Satoru didn't leave Keio's side for even a moment. When the day ended without anything happening, he felt a wave of relief and joy. I did it! I prevented her kidnapping. She really am changing the future. On March 2nd, they celebrated Satoru's birthday, Keio's birthday as well. They had an amazing time with their friends, playing, laughing, and enjoying the moment. Then, one by one, they all returned home. But the next morning, when Satoru arrived at school, he was shocked. Keio wasn't there. A wave of terror hit him and he rushed to her house, but she was nowhere to be found. Shortly after, her disappearance was officially announced. Satoru fell into a state of shock. What? Everything I did was for nothing? I thought I changed the day of her kidnapping, so why was she taken anyway? And then, the same tragic events unfolded once again. More children were kidnapped. Yuki was falsely accused and arrested, just like before. At that moment, Satoru was pulled back into the present. Nothing had changed. His mother was still dead. He was still on the run from the police. Kaio was gone. The only difference was that her date of death had shifted from March 1st to March 3rd, but he refused to give up. As he fled, his coworker, Eri, appeared and saved him. She looked at him firmly and said, "I know for sure you didn't kill your mother. Someone set you up." Then she added, "Don't worry, I'll go to your house and bring you some clothes and food. Stay here and don't move." But when Eri returned home, she was met with an unsettling surprise. A message had arrived on Satoru's mother's phone, but it wasn't from his mother. The phone was with the killer. The message read, "Don't move." Eri's blood ran cold. As she opened the door, thick smoke filled the air. Flames were consuming the house. The air turned suffocating, and Eri started losing consciousness. Satoru rushed to save the girl and found her there, with his boss also present. His boss told him, "Leave her. Run away, Satoru. I'll save her. Don't put yourself in danger." As Satoru ran away, the girl secretly placed her phone in his pocket without him noticing. After he escaped, he discovered the phone and realized that the killer was the one who had done this to her. Oh no! Things were getting worse, and Satoru could no longer comprehend what was happening. Satoru decided to search for the man his mother had spoken to about the killer or kidnapper. He asked him, "What exactly did my mother tell you?" The man replied, "She had discovered the name of the child abductor, but unfortunately, she never told me. I was supposed to meet her to discuss the case, but it seems the kidnapper was watching her and killed her before she could reveal his name. If only she had told me." Meanwhile, Eri was in the hospital receiving treatment for her minor injuries. She wanted to go to Satoru, but the police were watching her. She told her mother everything and her mother decided to help. She disguised herself and lay in Eri's place, giving Eri the chance to escape from the hospital. Eri called Satoru and they met. She told him, "I came to warn you about a suspicious man who visited us earlier and met with the boss. His name is Nishinzo." But Satoru replied, "There is no one by that name on the suspect list. He must be using an alias." Satoru had reached the peak of mental exhaustion and could no longer organize his thoughts. He told her, "Stay away from this case, Eri. I don't want you to get hurt because of me anymore. Thank you, but this is enough." Suddenly, the police raided them. The police had been monitoring Eri and surrounded them, successfully arresting Satoru. Eri started crying, saying, "I'm sorry. I didn't know they were watching me. This is my fault." But he reassured her, "It's okay, Eri. I still trust you." As he was being taken away, he saw the killer standing before him, laughing wickedly while hiding his face. At that moment, Satoru tried to activate his ability to go back in time, telling himself, "Go back. Please go back. Just this once." And indeed, he returned to the past, finding himself in the science museum with Keio. 2 days before the kidnapping, Satoru couldn't believe he was back again. Overwhelmed with joy, he said, "This time, I won't fail. I must protect her and change the future." He kept replaying the sequence of events until he reached Christmas Day, the day Keio was supposed to be kidnapped. He decided to take action and told his friends, "I'm going to school to get something and I'll be back quickly." He went to Yuki's house and created a suspicious scene, which prompted police intervention and shifted suspicion away from him. Then he met his friend Ken and asked for his help in turning Keio's mother over to the police. Christmas ended and Satoru took Keio with him, saying, "Listen girl, I'm going to kidnap you. Do you agree?" She replied, "All right, no problem." He took her to an abandoned old bus near a school, prepared the place for her, and brought some candles and food. Everything was going smoothly. The first day passed peacefully, and Satoru had already begun changing the future. But suddenly, Keo heard footsteps approaching the bus. It wasn't Satoru. It was the killer himself. She held her breath in fear. The killer placed his bag inside the bus and then left without noticing anyone was there. It turned out that this was the killer's hideout. Oh no, they had been hiding in the killer's own lair. The next day, Keo told Satoru and his friends everything that had happened. They opened the bag and found the killer's tools inside. Satoru was in shock. "We're literally in the killer's playground. We have to get out of here immediately." They asked, "Where to?" He answered, "Follow me." He took them to his house. His mother, surprised, smiled and said, "What's going on? Are you the one who kidnapped the girl?" He replied, "Didn't you tell me not to leave her alone?" His mother welcomed them and took care of the girl as if she were her own daughter. Keo was deeply moved and cried upon experiencing such kindness. Later, the mother took her back home. However, Keo's mother did not accept the situation and said, "Were you kidnapping my daughter? I'm calling the police." They replied, "Who should be reporting whom? If you cared about her that much, why didn't you search for her for 3 whole days? Or are you just talking for the sake of it?" She snapped angrily, "How dare you? Are you blaming me too?" She then lashed out and tried to hit them, but her daughter stepped in to protect them. She struck her own daughter, and just as she was about to hit them again, she realized it was a trap set for her. Finally, the woman faced the consequences of her actions. Child Protective Services intervened and took custody of Keo, stripping her mother of her parental rights. Thus, Satoru not only saved Keo from her abusive mother, but also from being kidnapped, successfully altering the future. But was that the end of it? No, bro. There were still other students in danger, and one of them was Satoru's friend, making it easier for him to protect him by staying close. The bigger problem, however, was the second girl, Aya, who attended a completely different school and had no connection to Satoru or his friends. Kenya noticed Satoru's concern and asked, "What's wrong? Weren't you trying to save Keo from her mother? We've done that, so what's on your mind now?" Satoru replied, "Honestly, I'll tell you, but don't tell anyone. My goal wasn't just to save her from her mother. I was protecting her from someone who was about to kidnap and kill her." Kenya was shocked. "What? Do you think this person will stop at Keo?" Satoru shook his head. "No, there are still others we need to protect, including Aya." Kenya couldn't believe it and sarcastically said, "What kind of morning nonsense is this? Are you working as a detective without telling us?" But in the end, he decided to help, saying, "All right, let's see this lie through to the end." Satoru started trying to befriend Aya and convince her to join their group. He eventually succeeded, and she became their friend, which meant he had managed to protect all the targeted students. Kenya then asked him, "Is it over now?" Satoru replied, "No, the killer won't give up that easily. He'll look for another child to abduct, and I need to figure out who the next victim will be." After thinking, Satoru deduced that the next target would be a lonely child, just like Keo had been. There was only one girl who fit that description, Misato. Satoru began watching Misato and noticed that she went to watch a match for her class. He followed her, but she went into the bathroom. Satoru waited outside. She was taking too long. As he waited for her to come out, he was startled when a teacher approached him and asked, "What are you doing here, Satoru? Are you done with Keo and now chasing after Misato?" Satoru tried to explain, "No, I was just waiting for her to come out of the bathroom." But the teacher pointed at Misato, who had already left, and said, "There she is. So, who are you waiting for?" Satoru looked outside and saw a small truck belonging to Yuki's family. He immediately realized that the girl had been kidnapped. He desperately pleaded with the teacher to help him chase the truck. The teacher agreed and they went after it. But on the way, the teacher started talking in a strange manner. Then he said, "I'll tell you a dangerous secret. This truck isn't actually mine." At that moment, Satoru realized the shocking truth. The teacher was the killer. He knew everything about the students and had planned everything meticulously. When he noticed that Satoru kept interfering with his plans, he decided to eliminate him. Satoru was in complete shock when he realized that everything had been a trap to capture him. The teacher was the one who told Misato about the match, the one who put a laxative in her drink, forcing her to go to the bathroom. All the clues led to one thing, the true identity of the killer. But it was too late. The teacher managed to trap Satoru inside the car and submerged it in the river. As he sank, Satoru clung to hope and told the teacher, "I know your future, and you will need me. I will come back to end you." Then, Satoru sank completely. 15 years passed while Satoru remained in a deep coma due to the incident. It turned out that the teacher didn't kill him because he felt he needed him. He was even affected by Satoru's words when he said he knew his future. Throughout all those years, Satoru's mother never abandoned him and continued to care for him until he finally woke up. However, he woke up with no memory, remembering nothing but his name. His memories were blurry and unclear. His friends began visiting him, including Kenya. His mother told them not to pressure him into recalling the past, saying, "Don't push him. He will regain his memories on his own." Kao also came to visit him, revealing that she had gotten married and even had a child. Upon seeing her, Satoru couldn't hold back his tears. She was the girl he had sacrificed his life to save. She warmly thanked him, saying, "Thank you, Satoru, for protecting me. I am grateful from the bottom of my heart for pulling me out of the darkness I once lived in." As Satoru touched the child's hand, his memories started returning. He realized that he hadn't only saved Kaio, but also his friends. Suddenly, he remembered the full truth. The killer was the teacher. He returned to his room to begin rehabilitation sessions so he could walk again. After all, it was only natural that he couldn't move after being bedridden for 15 years. However, thanks to his strong determination, he recovered at an astonishing speed, to the point where even the doctors couldn't believe it. After some time, the teacher came to visit him and asked, "Don't you remember me?" Satoru pretended to still have amnesia and replied, "No, who are you?" Feeling reassured, the teacher began talking, trying to interrogate Satoru about the past. But Satoru continued pretending to have lost his memory, so the teacher eventually left. Later, Satoru decided to visit a sick child, but on his way, he ran into the teacher, who offered to accompany him. Instead, the teacher led him to the rooftop and suddenly asked sharply, "You've regained your memories, haven't you? You've been fooling me this whole time." But Satoru showed no fear. The teacher continued, "I know you're recording me right now. Give me your phone. Don't play games with me. I am your teacher." It turned out that the teacher had tampered with the sick child's blood bag, contaminating it with a chemical. The fingerprints on the bag belonged to Satoru, so if the child died, he would be framed for the crime and thrown in prison. But Satoru smirked mockingly and said, "Do whatever you want. I have nothing left to lose in this world. I have saved everyone I love, and I want nothing more." Then, he suddenly dashes toward the edge of the rooftop, threatening to jump. "I'll jump now, and you'll be forced to switch the blood bag yourself." The teacher is shocked and asks, "How the hell did you figure out my plans?" Satoru smirks and replies mockingly, "I know everything that has happened and everything that will happen. Simply put, I have destroyed your future completely, and you can't live without me." Then, he throws himself off the rooftop. But just as he expected, the teacher lunges forward at the last second to grab him. Satoru was confident that the teacher couldn't live without him. If he had truly wanted to kill him, he would have done so long ago, even while Satoru was in a coma. Deep down, the teacher was obsessed with him. At that moment, the teacher realizes there is no way out and says, "I can't let you live any longer. I'll kill you and then end my own life." And indeed, he lets go of him and prepares to jump after him, saying, "I have no place in this world anymore. I will die with you." But just as he looks down, he realizes he has fallen into the biggest trap of his life. Satoru had anticipated everything. He had coordinated with his mother and friends who were waiting at the bottom of the building, having prepared a giant safety mattress for him to land on safely. Finally, the teacher realizes that his time is up. He is arrested, and life returns to normal once again. Satoru not only survived, but also managed to change the tragic future that awaited him. He even became a famous manga writer, achieving great success and proving his talent. One day, he returns to the same place where he used to meet Eri, and there, he sees her once again. Of course, she doesn't recognize him, but her way of speaking and everything about her is exactly as he remembers. Thus ended a journey filled with thrilling and extraordinary events, packed with emotion and drama that deeply impacted Satoru and completely changed the course of his life. Stay tuned for more exciting and unique summaries. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and see ya!